trying to remember how my it's like my list of Disney villains justifications goes. Jafar's like, I'm just trying to rule my nation, as opposed to the buffoon who gets it by Providence. Scar, what Jafar said. Let's see. Gaston is like, I'm just trying to protect my village from the horrible monster and the idiot girl who seems to think it's a nice thing. Clayton, same thing. Let's see. Ursula, I gave that girl a contract and literally sang her the fine print. Let's see, who else we got?
It all culminates in Cruella de Vil.
Cruella de Vil. I just want to murder puppies and wear their skin.
And everyone else is like, what the fuck?
Fucking what?
Or if we're talking about the new live action one, my parents were killed by puppies.
So I want to murder them and wear their skin. Fucking Cruella de Vil is actually the evilest one there is. It's like you can go down the list of Disney villains and just like, oh, all right, you had a good point. You had just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Cruella?
Oh, I just came up with the worst segue to another interesting conversation.
Let's segue away.
Speaking of murdering puppies,
let's go.
A YouTube channel I quite adore called Extra History has started releasing a series on the invention of insulin. And to those in the audience who do not know,
I don't think I want to know this, but go ahead.
Well, I actually think it's a really fascinating story. I have type 1 diabetes, so this is actually really close to my just everyday life. And hearing the history of it, which like I knew basically was pretty fascinating. And don't worry, I'm not going to stick on the dog murder. That's just part of it.
All right. I mean, history for the sake of science. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. So,
well, yeah, it's one of those that like, so the person who first had the idea of like, hey, there's this awful disease that's been going around since Egypt, and anyone who gets it, especially kids, if they get it, they will spend the next 6 months dying horribly, and there's pretty much nothing we can do about it. I have an idea on what we can do about it. So you've identified, okay, it has something to do with the pancreas, because if someone loses their pancreas, they just get diabetes. We know that's just a thing, and some researchers have like identified, okay, we even think we know like what the chemical is. We think we've identified this insulin thing. This army medic, who was not even really a doctor, he simply had some basic medical training from his time in the military, came up with a series of experiments that he thought he could do to isolate insulin and like possibly like synthesize it or harvest it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a real hard time getting funding because he wasn't a real doctor.
Mm-hmm.
When he did finally get funding, it was, well, actually, he didn't even really get funding. He got like licensed use of facilities and an okay to do the experiments, which wasn't that much. First, they did experiments on dogs and identified, like, yes, this organ is where insulin is created. And they did a bunch of experiments that I don't want to go into, but they were considered kind of bad even by those standards. The real thing came when they realized they could actually harvest insulin from already dead cow pancreases. And that's really cool to me. And that's actually how it started. They no longer needed to do anything with large animals. They could, like, the pancreas wasn't exactly a part butcher shops like used, so they could just go to cows that have already been killed for other reasons and harvest insulin from that.
Right.
And so they got to that. By the time it became a proper medicine, there were 4 doctors involved. All of them hated each other. They were all
this
worried about
in technology all the time.
Yeah, they were all worried about who was getting credit for what. The initial guy who like came up with the theories and the experiments and everything like couldn't even participate in human trials because he wasn't a real doctor. And even though he like was in charge of a lot of the word science, he was a really bad public speaker. So another doctor sort of took over all the presentations to make sure they could actually get like approval and funding, because he keeps flubbing speeches. And then he thought that guy was just trying to take all the credit, and that was a whole thing. They managed to create what they think is a good enough insulin medication. Does not work. Gives the person they give it to a pretty bad infection. They actually work it out. The kid's fine. So they get a fourth doctor to research how to refine it properly, to get all the cow bit out and make it just the insulin.
She's gotta filter out the cow.
Just gotta filter out the cow.
This is what y'all came for?
I'm
No,
sorry,
keep going. No, don't pause. You keep going. This is what we do.
We're gonna get to a part that I think is very on brand for us.
All right, good. Keep going.
Dr. 4 figures out the filtering process. They administer the new insulin to
Doctor number 4. Got it.
Doctor number 4. They administer it to the kid. He almost immediately, like, fully recovers. He's from essentially a like living skeleton to suddenly able to like get up and walk around and like has color for the first time anyone has seen this kid since he came down with the diagnosis. They're like, holy shit, how did you do it? They ask Dr. 4. I'm not telling you, says Dr. 4, because you all said that you weren't going to patent insulin, so I'm going to patent the process for refining insulin.
Fuck!
There aren't a lot of details on what happened next, but we do know it ended with him being punched in the face and people having to pull one of the doctors off of that doctor, and they decided to not end up patenting the process. See, kids, sometimes violence is the answer.
Sometimes you wake up in the morning, choose violence, and it makes the world a better place.
Now, there's a whole lot more to it that the thing hasn't gotten, that the story hasn't gotten to yet, and so I will mostly leave it there, except for one interesting point, which is again just how insulin works. Once they made it once they got that all sorted out and made it work for the one kid, they immediately went to the coma ward because there were, I believe, 5 children who had been completely comatose from diabetic ketoacidosis.
Yeah.
For days, and they started administering the insulin. By the time they finished treating the 5th kid, the first kid was awake. And it's
freaking nice.
Yeah. It's just one of those, it's just like a miracle medicine that just, I mean, not a miracle medicine, but yeah.
Okay. Peg Leg Standoff, I already follow you, so I subscribed. Also, Squirrel Horde, okay, thank you. I know exactly who Wormadam is. I kind of remember the little. He's like the sack bug. Which phase is Wormadam? Is it first, second, or third phase?
Like which evolution?
Which evolution phase is Wormadam? Second phase.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
So yeah, I am really glad that these guys are doing a thing on insulin, because like,
it's interesting.
I have a vested interest in insulin,
because it makes you live. Literally, these dudes invented insulin, and now we are doing a show.
Yeah,
because you, my friend, would be die.
I would be die. I would not be drawing without dying. I would be one of those things.
you would have failed one of the 2 things that we are all about.
And yeah, that's just very cool to me. Especially because, again, this is a disease like that has been known about and you know, records
Egypt.
of it exist. Yeah, ancient Egypt at least.
I love the notion that like we know it's pancreas related because removing your pancreas does exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I joke, but like no, that's
It causes all sorts of other problems if you remove your pancreas, but it definitely gives you diabetes too.
Deducing a problem is weird. Yeah, again, like I work in tech, and like boys, it's been a long time since I wrote fresh code for a new thing. I'm actually working on that right now, and even then, it's like I don't get to like write the same thing, write the new thing until I like write a whole document about here's how I'm going to build the new thing, and then have everyone throw darts at that and say, hey, you didn't define this well enough. Hey, is this true? Hey, did you have the data for this? It's fucking arduous. It's like, just I want to do thing, right? But like so much of my job is big technology product, like, and hey, it's broken. How's it broken? I don't know. All right. Get me my hat with two fronts. Let me put that on and start Sherlock the Holmesing the fuck out of this. God, is it hard? It's so hard. And I mentioned this before. Where it's just like our team has gotten so big that like the easy problems get solved before they even get to me. Like I have two teams of people. There's the customer support team, and then the tier 2 the tier 2 support team who know all of the common problems that people run into, and just okay, it's shit we know about. Don't worry about that. Here's the solution to that. Right, great.
So by the time bother with the ones that record on the laptop anymore.
Yeah, by the time it gets to me, it's a god fucking mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's my job.
Another thing, so Shiny Zubats also mentions, hey, I want to be here either because my grandma and mom are both diabetic. And here's another thing, because that they didn't notice at the time when they were researching this, is they didn't know there were two types of diabetes. Which means that, so they knew it could be related to obesity as well. And to that end, if you have type 2 diabetes caused by obesity, dieting and exercise can actually help solve the problem. Maybe not cure it, but like you will not be bedridden and won't be dying. Well, I guess you'll technically be dying slower, but not as like arduously. However, for type 1 kids, diet and exercise, okay, it may solve technically some of the symptoms, but it will make other ones way worse. Because what happens with type 2 is your body is simply not able to like process the insulin it is making. Like it will make the insulin or it won't make it well. And
I'm gonna be like 100% real.
It won't do what it needs to do in the body. And if you clear up
this is actually interesting to me because I don't know the difference between the types. Please keep going.
Okay. So type 2, the difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1, your body does not produce insulin. You have no insulin, zero insulin, or I guess technically a problem producing insulin. Type 2 is everything else. So if your insulin is not working for any reason, it's type 2. Now it can be like if you have like obesity or certain other genetic factors, your body can have trouble actually processing the insulin or possibly making it because of, again, physical reasons. Type 1, there's no natural way you can start producing insulin again. So with type 2, they would try like diet and exercise because like that would work for some people. It would clear up the things causing stopping the insulin from working. But for type 1, first off, you need all of your calories to grow, and type 1 happens in kids mostly. And what happens when you don't have insulin is your body can't really process the nutrients it's given. So rather than seeing obesity and like a greater weight, you see weight loss. I was, I want to say 60 pounds when I was diagnosed. Median for my age, I was probably supposed to be around 120. If I breathed in, you could see my spine through my stomach. It was pretty bad. And as you can imagine, if you take someone who has none of the nutrients needed to give energy and make them use more of those nutrients, is gonna fuck them up. So yeah, that's a whole thing.